Hi folks, today I'm going to do one of my favorite Irish dishes, which is more or less not really a beef stew, there's no potatoes in it, but it's a beef mixture with Guinness, and it's got bacon and mushrooms and carrots and onion. So it's really good after it cooks down. It takes about 3 hours to cook. And then when it's done, you can put this on cauliflower rice. You can put it on toast. You can put it inside a pie dish and make a beef pie out of it. There's all kinds of crazy good things. So let's get started. And we're going to start off right now with the meat. 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 I'm going to start off with a beautiful brisket. Get the fat on one side, the meat on the other. So what I want to do is I want to cube this eventually. But I'm going to slice it with a good sharp knife right into sections. And that makes it easier to be able to just trim the fat. I think I'm going to need a sharper knife. Thought this one was sharp. Now a lot of this fat is going to, in the stew, it's going to liquefy. But you want to try to take off as much as you possibly can. Okay. We're going to do this for the rest of the brisket. Just going to be slicing it along. Probably another 1-2 pieces. And then we're going to flip it and take that fat off the backside. Now that I have the steak all trimmed and sectioned up into about bite-sized portions, I'm going to add a little sea salt. And then I'm going to add some pepper. And I'm going to have to brown this, not too much. You don't want to cook it all the way through because it's going to cook in the oven. But I'm going to do it in 2 batches. Actually, I'm going to have 2 pots going at the same time, and we're just going to brown these up, and then we'll be back to it. With both of these pots heating up, I'm going to add some fruitwood smoked bacon fat. Whenever I do bacon, for family or friends, I'm always saving the bacon fat. And I actually prefer it over the olive oil. But we're going to get this nice and melted. With the oil fairly heated, start tossing in some of the meat. You don't want to overcrowd it. Just going to kind of lay it in there. Like I said, I'll probably end up doing 2 batches anyway, between the 2 pots. Just going to get a little bit of a brown on it. Quick sear. All right, let me grab the tongs, the tongs, and turn these a bit. As you can see, I'm not cooking it through. I'm not trying to cook it through. I am just trying to get a little bit of brown on it. With the meat finished and put in a bowl off to the side, I'm going to take one large onion and what I'm going to end up doing is slicing this and dicing it. Next we're going to take 3 carrots, or the equivalent of about 1.5 cups. And here I'm just using some pieces. It's just easier for me, quicker. I'm just giving them a rough chop. In this pot that we did the meat in, under medium-high heat, and add the onion we just chopped up. And the carrots. And we're going to saute that probably about 8 minutes, scraping up all that meat fond at the bottom and the special flavors that are there. So in about 8 minutes we'll come back with this. One ingredient I love to use is the porcini mushrooms. They come freeze-dried, and it's going to take something to rehydrate them. So we're going to do that, but you can usually find these in the produce aisle. They're hanging off to the side, or just ask your grocer where he keeps the porcini mushrooms. It's thick, almost like a beef, and it's got like a jerky type scent to it, and it's perfect for this dish. So I'm going to show you how to rehydrate these. I have the mushrooms in a measuring cup. I'm going to add 2 cups of hot water. It doesn't have to be boiling, but hot would be good. And we're just going to let those mushrooms steep for about 15-20 minutes. And when they're done, we're going to strain them, and we're going to keep both the mushrooms and the broth, because this is almost going to become like a mushroom broth. This water will be, as I say, liquid gold. We're just adding flavor as we go. While the mushrooms are steeping, I heated up 1.5 cups of beef broth. And to that, I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of the Better Than Bouillon beef base, which is there. I'm just going to stir that all in there. It's going to be so good. So it's been between 15 and 20 minutes. I'm going to take these now rehydrated porcini mushrooms. Remember, we want to keep the liquid, so I'm just going to kind of strain it in there like that. And then we're going to put this liquid aside. Break out the cutting board and add the mushrooms to the cutting board. where I'm just going to give it a quick chop. Just a rough chop. If there's any really hard leathery pieces, you can just discard them. These seem okay, feeling pretty good. The onions are looking wonderful. Carrots. So I'm just going to add to that the porcini mushrooms. Give that a good stir. Now with the bacon fat and everything else that's still in there at the bottom, I'm going to take 1.5 tablespoons of almond flour with 1 tablespoon of monk fruit sweetener, or you can use brown sugar if you don't care about the sugar content. And I'm just going to put it in there, get it really well and coated. And we're going to just let that cook and get that flour cooked off. And it'll take about 3 or 4 minutes. So we'll just keep working this. I have the oven preheated to 325. And this is going to look a little bit gluey, but that's okay. All going to be fine in the end. So to this, I'm going to add the beef and all the drippings. Then I'm going to pour between 12 and 14 ounces of Guinness beer. And I'm not done there. Next, we're going to put the warm beef stock with the bouillon, and we're still not done. Now I'm going to just use the strainer again. This is the water, reserve water from where we rehydrated the mushrooms. That is all flavor. I'm also going to add a tablespoon of aged balsamic and about a teaspoon of salt and pepper. And I'm just going to stir that all up. Now what we do is put a cover on this and we set it in the oven for about 3 hours at 325 to just let it slow cook. Oh, and I'm going to add a couple bay leaves, some thyme, and some parsley to that. Just set it right down in there. Let's get the cover in place, and that baby's going in the oven. Well, you and I have about 3 hours to kill while that's sitting in the oven. So, I'm thinking, why don't we add more flavor? Okay. Let's add some more flavor. I just happen to have some thick cut applewood smoked peppered bacon. And we're gonna fry that up. Because it seems like it's the right thing to do. Okay, that bacon is good and crispy. I'm gonna take it right out of there. Now, think we have enough? No. No, I'm gonna use some white mushrooms and I'm gonna put them right in right with all that wonderful flavor. It's about 8 ounces of white mushroom. And when this is done, we're going to take this along with the bacon that we're going to chop up roughly. And we're going to do something special with it. I'm going to bring that over here. I'm just going to give that a rough chop. Nice and crispy and peppery. And what I'm going to actually do is put that in with those delicious mushrooms. My, oh my. And we're going to get back to that. So this just came out of the oven, and it's spent 3 hours at 325. Let's take a look. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. I'm going to look for this little bay leaves and things, and I'll put those aside. What I'm going to add to that now is the bacon and the mushrooms that we cooked, along with all of their juices. That just smells amazing. I'm just going to let that sit. I'm going to put the cover back on, and we're just going to let that sit. Okay, so we've got it out of the oven. We've got the lid on it. You can certainly serve it as it is. Like I said, you could put it on cauliflower rice. You could put it over broccoli. You could put it over noodles. You could put it over just about anything, some toast. I'm sure your family will enjoy it. It's hearty. It's filling. It tastes so rich and so good. The beef is just melts in your mouth. It's so tender, and it's just a wonderful all-around dish, especially for the winter. So I hope you give it a shot. I hope you enjoy it. If you leave it in the pot and you let it cool down to room temp, you can package it up for the fridge, and it freezes as well, as just as good. So I hope you enjoy it. I hope you try it, and have a good one.